This man said he had 4 kids.
DJ Stiz on the beat, boy.
Hi guys. So I just finished my last video and I was just like, let me keep on going. So I'm gonna do another video. So I thank you if you made it past my first 2 videos. I'm excited that you're still here and I hope that you hit that subscribe button and you join me on my journey of telling my story about being a young stepmom and just the reality of things that we go through as stepmoms, period, whether we're young, old, ancient, whatever you want to call it. There's just things that we go through and I talk about those things. So if you are new, welcome. And if you would like to, after you hear some of the things I'll be talking about, want to hit that subscribe button, you are more than welcome and I greatly appreciate it. So today is part 2. Matter of fact, let me rewind. I'm going to tell you. So if you are not realizing right now, I am doing this. I think I said it in my my first video that I'm going to be doing this in stages. And stage 1 is dating. So I talk about just things that I learned about when I was dating my husband and things that I found out, just little story times. And, so the first couple episodes are just to get to know me and know the beginning of our journey. And so today's episode is finding out exactly how many kids my husband had. And let's just get to it. Okay, so at this point, I'm talking to Uri for 2 weeks about now. And he had already asked me out twice. And before I met him, I had been through a really bad situation. And then before that, I had just this horrible relationship before that. And so I wasn't into going, in private with people or, hanging out on some movie theater or whatever type stuff, private stuff. I wasn't into going out in private. And I vocalized that to him and he was completely respectful of that. So, he was just I turned him down a lot. He asked me out about 3 times before I officially said yes. And he'll joke around even till today, even this day, and say, I wasn't gonna ask you out no more. Cause I just kept on telling him no because I was scared, and when I finally did say yes, I was like, I'm not going in private with you, so don't ask. I get to pick the place and I'll pick the time. And I told my mother that, he asked me out. And so we go to the diner and as soon as I get there, my mom, the waiter that we usually have, she's waving me down hi, your mom called me, da da da. So I'm like, okay, we're gonna go find a spot. And he's you could tell he's kind of smiling, but he's probably just how old are you? But anywho, so thank God she wasn't our waiter. She wasn't our waiter. Shout out to Jody. She's family now. But I guess, but embarrassing. How embarrassing. First of all, he's 28. But so yeah, so we're talking and we're doing basically, that 25 question thing where, you're asking each other questions and stuff like that. And he's just what made you come out to New Haven? I'm just my mom's out here. I'm back and forth from college. I'm about to transfer back here. He was well, where to go to college? I'm telling him where I went to college and stuff. So then, it got a little deeper. He asked me if I had kids and I was just no, I don't have any kids. And he was oh, okay. And I was just why? Do you have kids? And he was just yeah. And I was you got kids? And he was yeah. So I'm just oh, okay. And I was well, how many kids do you have? This man said he had 4 kids. This man said he had 4 kids. 4 kids, y'all. And I'm did I hear that right? And he started you just think what? But I'm you 28 with 4 kids? And he's yeah, I have 4 kids, my first daughter, she's adopted from my ex-wife. And I'm like, and you got an ex-wife? What? And he was just like, yeah, you know, I was married and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dang, like all this at 28? Like, okay. And so like, you know, I grew up where my dad had different females. And so like, I really wasn't like thinking, like, I thought really naive about my dad, you know, like that whole saying Papa was a Rolling Stone. That was my daddy. I had 10 brothers, 2 sisters. Like, I had a lot of siblings. So, and they were with different females and, you know, like, so I was used to being around different females and stuff like that. So I was very naive about the whole situation that could, like, later on I found out was a lot harder than what I actually thought it was. But I'm just like, oh, you got 4 kids, you know, and an ex-wife. And I was just like, it was like a little bit of a red flag because you're like, you're so young and you're just like, dang, like, okay. You know, talking, and I'm just like, in my head, I'm like, you got 4 kids? You have 4 kids? So then he's like, you know, telling me about each kid and, you know, like how old they are. His adopted daughter is 10. He is, his biological daughter is 6. His son is 5. And I'm like, whoa. And then he's like, his youngest daughter, and I'm like, oh my goodness. He's like, his youngest daughter is 3. Oh, well, he was like, his youngest daughter was about to be 3. And I'm like thinking in my head, like, and I'm not thinking to add it up, but all I'm thinking is like, whoa, those are close in age, you know, like, woo. And so I'm just like, okay. And I was just like, so are these all by your wife? And he's just like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, you know, so in my head, I'm like, okay, you know, I'm not dating like you know, like how some girls kind of date like their father, like the type of men that their father is. And so I was just like, whoo, at least they're all by the same woman, you know. I'm not like thinking about 6, 5, you know, 10 baby mothers. So I'm like, okay, you know, like, oh, at least they're all by the same woman, you know, at least you weren't out there, you know, creeping around and stuff. And so, you know, like he was like very like low key about everything, like kind of, and I'm like, I'm still like not adding up the ages or anything, you know. So I keep on talking about the ages because like I told y'all, I'm going to expose something later on about my husband and him lying to me about his age. But I didn't even think like, you know, like these ages ain't added up. I know she said she was adopted. But one of the things I did notice, I was just like, okay, so she must be older than you because you're saying you're 28. And so like her daughter is 10. So she must be older than you. But anywho, like, you know, he said he adopted her. You know, these are all his kids and he loves his kids and yada yada. So I told him, like, you know, I grew up around different women, so I don't really have an issue with like being around kids and stuff like that. And so he was just like, all right, you know. So then we like, of course, we just like started having like different conversation and, you know, like just, you know, typical first date stuff. So, you know, yeah, that was pretty much the story on how I found out he had 4 kids and how I reacted to it. You know, like, it didn't bother me because, you know, like I said, I grew up and my dad had several kids. So, you know, like, because he was a little fast thing, like, I was around different women all the time. So, in my head, I wasn't really thinking, like, oh, this is about to be some ish because to me, it wasn't going to be no ish because I've seen arguments between parents like that, like between the moms that my dad was dealing with. I had only seen like maybe a handful of them, not even. I think my dad was very like, if anything, like the women he dealt with, they made sure that the kids were around drama. So I feel like he dealt with a lot of women, but they were actually very mature because I don't remember seeing arguments and fights and, you know, ghetto-ness and ignorance. So I guess I was like I said, I was thinking like everything was gonna be freaking unicorns and rose farts because, you know, that's how I grew up. But I'd like to thank you guys for watching my video once again, and the juicy stuff is coming, guys. Just bear with me. I'm just trying to get past the beginning stages, you know. So please hit that subscribe button if you are new, you like my little short stories that I'm giving so far. Please hit that bell icon so you can get you can get notifications when I am posting. I appreciate you and have a good day. Bye.